USC's heir apparent to Caleb Williams is reportedly entering the transfer portal. Success leaves clues. So what are the clues to explain the Clippers' big winning streak? And the Rams are probably a team you would not want to face right now. Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos morning report. So it is December 18, 2023. I'm in a glorious mood because in a couple hours I am going to be leaving St. Louis misery, heading back home. And also another reason for good news, we added a new subscriber to the Angeleno Familia. Thank you for getting in on the ground floor. We will do our best to keep you informed about LA sports. And if you like being in the know about LA, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And by all means, comment. You guys know this. I do my best to get back with you guys. So before we go through the news and notes and look at the scoreboard, Matthew Stafford passed for 258 yards and 2 touchdowns to lead the Rams to a 28-20 victory over Washington. Cooper Kupp had a touchdown, 111 receiving yards. Kyren Williams, 152 yards plus a touchdown. The Rams currently hold, if the playoffs started today, the number 7 spot in the NFC conference playoffs, in the NFC playoffs. Meanwhile, the Trojans basketball team, for all the hype about USC's recruiting, they've had 3 consecutive losses now. They fell in Auburn 91-75. All of that hype, and they are just 5-5. Craziness. Boogie Ellis led the Trojans with 22 points. Meanwhile, today, the New York Knicks are going to play the Lakers at 7:30, and the Clippers are at Indiana at 4 o'clock. The Clippers are on a 7-game winning streak. We'll be talking more about that in a couple of moments, and we will talk more about the Rams as well. But we have to start with the big news out of USC. Malachi Nelson, the number 1 recruit in the class of 2023, is reportedly entering the transfer portal. This is according to both ESPN and 24/7 Sports. Nelson was a National Player of the Year in high school back in 2022, quarterbacking Los Alamitos High. Now, as a side note, in my opinion, he's making a mistake. He is. Because Lincoln Riley's track record of taking high school quarterbacks and turning them into Heisman Trophy winners, top draft picks, Lincoln Riley's record with that is unsurpassed. No matter how much you may have hated the way USC played defense, he is a quarterback whisperer. So Nelson is taking a risk here, but he is an adult, and as such, he gets to make adult decisions just like you and I did when we were 18. Details, we have no idea why he would enter the transfer portal. We could only speculate. So let's be real. This is going to be a hit to USC. Absolutely. You can't lose a quarterback of that caliber, of that pedigree, and not have it sting. Now, the only thing I can tell you is that Nelson's development may have been stunted. If you recall, before the spring football game, way earlier this year, he didn't play because he had shoulder surgery. All things being equal, provided his shoulder was healthy, you would have expected the job to have been his to lose going into next season. After all, Caleb Williams is going to the NFL, right? Now, there was some scuttlebutt about USC going into the transfer portal to boost the quarterback room, maybe provide a little competition, but all things being equal, the job was his to lose. Nelson was supposed to join Zachariah Branch, same class, by the way. And Zachariah Branch already has been making a name for himself with USC. They were supposed to be basically the Wonder Twins of Riley's first recruiting class since taking the USC job. Keep in mind, USC does not have a quarterback in the recruiting class from high school for either 2024 or 2025. So if you're a Trojans fan, frankly, next year, It's either Miller Moss or you grab somebody out of the transfer portal. So this is a hit to USC football. There's no doubt about it. But having said that, they are boosting the defense. They've made that promise and they're sticking to it. Linebacker Easton Mascarenas Arnold. A very complex name, I must say. But those 106 tackles that he made with Oregon State last year, oh, that's a simple solution to a problem, I'll tell you that. He's coming to USC via the transfer portal. This guy does have potential to be an impact player for the Trojans. Now, I get the fact that you've heard people say that before in the last couple of years. Shane Lee, for example, was supposed to be an impact player when he came from Alabama 2 years ago. Totally didn't happen. We've heard a lot about incoming USC defenders that were supposed to be impact players. But I'm going to tell you, I have a feeling that this guy could be, because no matter what counter argument you may come up with, I'm going to say 106 tackles. 106. We've seen upgrades to both the defensive coaching staff with USC in the last week and 4 new players coming in the last week. Mascarenas Arnold was a first-team All-Pac-12 selection. Pro Football Focus said that last year he was the Beavers' best run stopper. So again, potential solution to a long-term problem over at USC. Tyronn Lue has said that 3 areas have improved for the Clippers since James Harden arrived. It just took time for it to take place. Lue told The Athletic that it's a combination of James Harden getting into better shape. That makes sense, obviously. Acquiring Daniel Theis as a backup center, because without Theis on the roster, the team was just simply too short. Ivica Zubac was the only center that they had. The third, according to Lue, was on Lue, figuring out the rotations with these new players coming in. But I would hasten to add one more thing that wasn't included. The Clippers have cut down on turnovers. During this current winning streak that they're on, the assist to turnover ratio for the Clippers is 10-1. When Harden first came in, the Clippers were turning the ball over a ton. That's been cut down. You keep control of the ball, you're more likely, obviously, to get those 2 points. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be steady about this. I've always admitted to being more of a Russell Westbrook guy than a James Harden guy. Both players, both most definitely divisive. But the reason that I lean way more to Westbrook, despite the fact that Lue has obviously chosen James Harden as the starter, is because Westbrook's teammates always back him up. They always have had his back, even with the Lakers, I might add. You can't say that about James Harden. You can't. Take the current situation with the Clippers. Westbrook's minutes have been absolutely obliterated. They're all going to James Harden. Westbrook has not said one cross word about the situation. Quote, "I've been in the league so long, I understand the definition of true sacrifice. Understanding what it looks like. Sometimes it might not be how you want it, but if it's for the betterment of the team, that's the most important part," unquote. Now, I grant you, again, if you're a Lakers fan, it didn't work out for him in purple and gold. And again, he is a divisive fellow. But I believe him when he says these kind of quotes, because he's not dogging out his own coaching staff or his teammates for the minutes that he's lost. So yeah, I still am going to be a Russell Westbrook guy. Just is what it is. We mentioned earlier that the Rams now hold the last spot in the NFC playoffs if they started today. We've also been mentioning over the last few weeks how ESPN has a computer model that'll give a percentage. What are the odds that the Rams are going to make the playoffs? Going into yesterday, the Rams had a 41.4% chance of making the playoffs, according to ESPN. Well, the New York Times also has its own computer model. Right now, they say the Rams have a 55% chance of making the playoffs. If they beat the Saints on Thursday, that percentage rises all the way up to 77. So the Rams, it might be oversimplistic to say that everything is their own destiny in their own hands, but it sure sounds that way. The Rams are 4-1 since the bye week. The only loss, by the way, in that time came in overtime on the road. Take a step back and look at what the Rams front office said about the team this preseason. That they were basically tearing the defense down completely, all the way down to the foundation of Aaron Donald. They said up front that they were going to be pushing all of their chips in on Matthew Stafford in the offense. Just complete open candor with the fans, letting them know what the plan is. Extreme candidness. And they were right. They were right. They are a threat to make the playoffs. Now, I'm not going to sit there and say that this team is a threat to win it all. Absolutely not. But I will say this. If the Rams do make into the playoffs, is this a team you really want to face? Really? Think for a moment about, oh, we're so much better than the Rams and we're going to go up by 3 touchdowns. Sean McVay is perfectly willing to get into a shootout with you. So keep your eye on the Rams. Keep your eye on the Rams. I don't think a lot of teams would want to face them right now. I really don't. The Athletic, to their credit, realized that teams usually hire GMs before coaches. So I bring that up because while everybody else is claiming that the coaches that the Chargers are looking at to hire, the Athletic went in the correct direction and came up with a list of potential GMs. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. That list was just basically pell-mell, put together by just going down all the assistant GMs across the NFL, just grabbing the name and throwing it against the wall to see what sticks. So it's not really inside scoop kind of news. But there was one note about a Chargers GM search that I think is worth sharing. And that would be about JoJo Wooden, who was named the interim GM when Tom Telesco was fired. Wooden has a problem if he wants to be the permanent GM. If it is true that Chargers ownership is talking about reimagining how to build the team, how to rebuild a football team, that would signal that it's going to be a clean break from the Telesco regime. And Wooden was the director of player personnel under Telesco. So if he wants the full-time gig, he's got a battle ahead of him. We talked about USC football. Let's not forget the Bruins are out there. For Pete's sakes, they won their bowl game on Saturday. Wide receiver Cam Brown is going to land in Purdue after leaving UCLA in the transfer portal. Brown, he was okay with the Bruins. Not dominant, but he was okay. Last year, he had only 24 receptions, but he did score 3 touchdowns. Meanwhile, though, good news for the Bruins, wide receiver Rico Flores is coming to UCLA from Notre Dame. He was second in receptions for the Fighting Irish last year. So that's not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. Kings backup goalie Phoenix Copley has been placed on long-term injured reserve. He was injured in practice last week. We had mentioned that he needed help getting off the ice. The Kings, well, for that matter, all NHL teams, are ridiculously tight-lipped when they're trying to tell you about their injury reports. They're being extremely vague. They're saying it's a lower body injury. As a result, though, Copley is going to miss a minimum of 10 games. So there's going to be a lot of leaning on Cam Talbot, even more than there already was. Wanted to end with a random question for you guys. Does anybody really believe that UCLA or USC basketball will last past the first weekend of March Madness? We mentioned earlier the Trojans are 5-5. Yesterday, UCLA fell to 5-4. These were supposed to be two programs that were going to be battling Arizona for the Pac-12 title, for Pete's sake. Does anybody believe that's a possibility now? So my question is, which team disappoints you more as well? I mean, I will tell you this much, at least the Bruins have an excuse, right? They lose 4 key players. You could easily win an argument by basically saying, look, that's a really big ask to replace Jaime Jaquez Jr., Tiger Campbell, Jalen Clark. It's just bananas to me. For all the talk about how Pac-12 football is leaving on a high note, Pac-12 basketball is doing the exact opposite. So you let me know. I'm actually genuinely curious what you think. Is, in fact, which team is going to disappoint you more, UCLA hoops or USC hoops? And does either of them have a shot at making it out of the first weekend of March Madness if they make it? Let me know also what you think about what the Trojans will do if Malachi Nelson is in fact in the transfer portal. Or for that matter, are the Rams the team that nobody would want to face in the playoffs? And if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We talk LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corte El Queso production. Take care.